The July 29, 2026 special meeting of the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency is called to order at 5 p.m. Could I please ask everyone to stand and ask Director Herrick to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ladies and gentlemen, place your right hand over your heart, repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to approval of the agenda, could I please have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So moved. I'll say that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Director Sauer,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Chair Segovia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Walsh,
Aye.
and Director Herrick.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to public forum. Public testimony is permitted at this time on the following sections of the agenda: presentation and introduction, information, committee reports, consent calendar, and any other matters within the agency's subject matter jurisdiction that are not included on the posted agenda. Do we have any cards?
Joyce?
So I haven't looked over all your stuff on there, but I have some questions, why do we need an additional agency to do what Barbara's been hired to do, wastewater? So why do you need to create a whole new agency called Replenish with a whole new set of people? Why can't it be within your jurisdiction project? And where are the finances of the project? Because all I can see is it keeps going up and up. Last time I saw it was $80 million, and now it's $88 million for phase one. The original cost of the project wasn't even supposed to cost that much. And so you can see how the public is really pissed off. Okay, and where is our election? Because constitutionally, we have a right to an election when you guys are taxing us higher than what we can afford in our community. We're a elderly community that doesn't make a lot of money, and you need 2/3 of the property owners to approve of these types of tax hikes. So we're calling for an election for you to continue to raise our taxes for any project. So you have to notify that here on the East End, we want an election. You can't just keep ignoring us when we're calling for this, which you guys have continued to just ignore us. We don't want to pay for this project. We don't need a whole new agency. And we're tired of being ignored. And we got this stuff, and a lot of people don't even realize to turn around and get a workshop and pass this stuff. And when the community starts hearing about what you're doing, you're gonna have a lot more people in here. I mean, thank you.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, no other public comment?
Thank you. I just had some questions
Could you
on,
state your name, please? Could you just state your name, please?
Corey Brent.
Okay, thank you.
I have some questions on the proposed project, on State Lane. And I just started reading this pamphlet here, so I'm not really sure if I don't have enough information. Maybe I'll get it when you give your presentation. One question off the top of my head is, what's your discharge requirements at the treatment plant? Your discharge per the board is 30, I believe, 30 parts per million BOD and suspended salt. Is that true, sir? For your discharge to Lutheran?
It's,
You're not sure?
you're talking for BOD?
BOD and suspended salt?
The suspended solid is, I'm not sure, I'd have to look that up, what exactly it is for suspended.
So
It is 30. But the, for BOD, it is, I think is it 8? Oh, no, it's a percent, 85% of the, 85% of the incoming.
I'm sorry, what was that?
85% of the incoming, concentration.
Parts per million.
In parts per million, I mean, we average around,
Milligrams per liter, parts per million.
right, we average around 8. milligrams per liter.
It used to be 30-30.
30 is for
That's
suspended
what it
solids.
is now.
Yes,
Okay. So the effluent, well, the Lucerne is 30-30. The effluent is gonna be going to the project of the road is gonna be what's, maybe I'll find out later.
yes, you will. In the presentation, it's covered underneath the presentation. Yeah,
It's gonna be third stage.
it's covered underneath the presentation, for the exact treatment process. And so you'll understand, if you have questions after the presentation, I'm happy to consider
So
those with you.
So are you going to,
It's,
filter the water to a higher degree than the secondary
oh, much higher.
effluent that's?
Yeah, it's a requirement of the regional board.
So you're looking at somewhere, you don't know the figure yet, what that's gonna be?
It's in the presentation, the exact numbers are in the presentation.
Okay,
So let us make the presentation, then if you have more questions, you can
and
I
in
can address
addition,
this.
it's looking at 500,
acre feet,
acre feet per year. That's right.
that's correct.
And could you, for the average person, could you break that down into gallons?
I think it's like 655 gallons, 655,000 gallons per day or around
55,000 per day.
655,000
Okay.
gallons per day.
I'm just curious on that. And then is there any plans for that to go up?
At this point, that is the number that we're using, but in the future, could the board consider to put more in there? There is a consideration that could be made.
So you're just that's gonna be the standard for now and then.
That's gonna be the standard for now.
You can see on the progress. So-
Yeah, and again, it's over an 9-month period, so yes,
Okay, thank you.
you bet.
Okay, moving on to presentation and introduction. Oh, okay.
Very quickly, my name's Marta Neely. I want to thank everyone for all the hard work you put into Replenish to Fair and making this happen. Makes me very, very optimistic about the future of water security for the valley. And I know you put in a lot of work for this, and it's been very, very difficult. So I want to thank you.
Okay. Moving on to presentation and introduction. 20-year recognition for Brent Berg.
Yes, today we can recognize Brent Berg. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today. He's actually in Hawaii. His daughter's graduating from Police Academy, so that's congratulations to his daughter as well. But again, we're going to recognize him for his 20 years of service to our agency. Throughout his career, Brent has consistently demonstrated dedication, professionalism, and a positive attitude. His willingness he is known for his willingness to help whenever it is needed and always putting the needs of the agency first. He has extensive knowledge of the plant and operation and is invaluable, and he is always willing to share that knowledge with others and helping to train, support fellow staff. Whenever responding to routine needs of our unexpected situations, Brent can always be counted on. He is reliable, consistent, and committed to teamwork and made him an essential part of our organization for the last 2 decades. I thank Brent for your hard work, dedication, and the contributions you have made over the last 20 years. Congratulations on your significant milestones, and thank you for your service. So we'll give that to him.
Are there any questions or discussions from the board on this item? All right, moving on to Sonja.
Kawa, all right. Today, we have the privilege of recognizing and celebrating Sonja Kawa for 15 years of dedicated service to our agency. 15 years is a remarkable milestone, and it represents far more than a time on a calendar. It reflects commitment, reliability, and hard work, and the kind of steady contributions that makes a real difference every single day. Sonja, over the years, you have earned the respect and appreciation of those around you through your professionalism, your positive spirit, and your willingness to give your best. Your work has helped strengthen the team, supported our goals, and created an example for others to follow. What stands out the most is not only what you have accomplished, but how you have accomplished it with care, consistency, humility, and the pride in your work. These qualities are deeply valued and they do not go unnoticed. On behalf of all of us, thank you for your 15 years of service, your loyalty, and the many contributions you have made along the way. We are grateful for the role you have played and for the impact you continue to have. Congratulations, Sonja, on this well-deserved recognition. We appreciate you, we celebrate you, and we look forward to many more years of success.
Oldest employee the farm has ever had.
Any comments or questions from the board? I just want to say, congratulations. Okay, moving on to item C, Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, Government Finance Officers Association. Kristen.
Thank you. Again, we are proud to announce the agency has received the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the fiscal year 27 budget. To receive the budget award, the budget document must satisfy nationally recognized guidelines for effective budget presentation that assess how well the budget serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. This is the 4th consecutive year and the 14th year overall that the agency has received this prestigious award.
Any board questions or discussion? No, all right, moving on to Information Committee Reports, General Manager's Report. David.
The general manager report is included for 6A. I don't know if there's any questions from the board, but I don't have anything to highlight at this time.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions or discussion about 6A? Okay, moving on to Replenish Big Bear Report and Presentation.
Okay.
From WSC.
Well, actually, we have 6B.
Those are the, oh,
Oh, okay, sorry about the presentation. Okay, good.
Name Calvin, is the program manager for Replenish Repair. And the purpose of the presentation tonight is to provide an update on the status of the Replenish Repair program, and specifically the Green Spot Recharge project, which is a direction that we were shifted in just in April of this year. So some of the information that's in this presentation, the board has already seen, and there's some new information as well. So part of what we want to do is have, give the board another opportunity to see all of this information together, because one of our next steps would be to give this presentation to additional agencies and make it available for the public. So it's just an opportunity for the board to provide any additional feedback or ask questions before we share it more broadly. So some of this is competitive. I'll do this. So the overall program is still called Replenish Repair, because that can encompass a range of different uses. And going forward, we're really going to be focusing more on Green Spot Recharge project, which is what we're calling phase 1 of the program at this point. So we'll try to make that clear as we go forward. So this slide represents what Replenish Repair program has included since the beginning, and all of the potential uses of water that could occur after our produces purified water at this facility. Originally,
As shown, the plan was to produce 2,200 acre feet per year of purified water. And all of that water would be sent to Stanfield Marsh and Big Bear Lake for discharge. From there, a portion of that could be pulled out and used for groundwater recharge at Sand Canyon and to offset groundwater use of the golf course. So collectively, those uses would provide 500 acre feet per year of groundwater benefits as part of the program. And so the program could also include other uses, and some of those we've talked about them over the years. So discharging the shade pond for habitat benefit, potentially to recharge at other locations such as Basin. And there are even more. So the program as a whole could include multiple different options. And so this is representing what Replenish Baker has been prior to the shift. Now, initially, as shown there, Replenish Baker set out to provide multiple benefits to the valley. So groundwater recharge, habitat, and recreation. Over the years, as the program has progressed, the constant complexity of that became challenging to implement. And so as a result, the board redirected the focus in April towards groundwater recharge at Green Spot, to really just go back to the roots of the program, which has always been fundamentally a groundwater sustainability program. So, Green Spot was not, hasn't been talked about as part of the Replenish Baker program for the last several years. However, it has been evaluated extensively over the last 20 years on multiple occasions, along with other, up to 7 other options. And so we do have a fair amount of information about this option. It's been well vetted. We know it is a viable option, and making this shift, is something that we can do with confidence because of that. So this slide shows now what the revised program overview looks like with this shift. So the ones shown in purple are basically representing what we would do in phase 1. So that's producing 500 acre feet per year of purified water, which is about 600,000 gallons per day. And that would operate over a 9-month period. We're currently assuming it wouldn't operate in the winter. And all of that water would go for recharge at the Green Spot recharge site in our own lake. All of the other uses shown on this slide are still things that could be done in the future as part of future phases of the program. So you could do more than 500 acre feet of recharge at Green Spot in the future. You could add other recharge locations, such as Van Dusen or Sand Canyon. You could send water to the lake. You could send it to Shade Pond. So there's still a lot of flexibility in the future of this program. We're just focusing phase 1 on recharge at Green Spot and downsizing the total yield to make it easier to implement at this point. So this slide kind of provides a comparison of the prior plan and the revised plan. So still 500 acre feet of groundwater recharge. Phase 1 and the revised plan would produce 500 total. And if you wanted to expand up to that 2,200 acre feet in the future, that would be part of phase 2 or subsequent phases. As a result of downsizing the project and changing the discharge location, the capital cost has come down somewhat. The most recent estimate from the PDR for the prior program was at $105 million, and the estimate for the Green Spot project is $81.5 million. Now there's an asterisk there, and you see at the bottom. We want to be clear that there are costs that have been expended to date to develop the overall program, to look at all the different options to get the money in place. And so what the cost that we're showing, the 81.5, is cost that we estimate to be expended after April of 2026, when the decision was made to switch to Green Spot, to finish out the implementation at Green Spot. So at the bottom, you'll see the total estimated program expenditures are $88.6 million. That's the number that we talked about in April. So we just wanted to be clear that the prior costs are really around program development, and then the 81.5 is to develop Green Spot specifically going forward. Now, the other reasons why green spot is a more simplified approach, is because it's now just one project that Barwa can implement on its own. The previous program did require multiple pieces to produce the benefits, multiple agencies would have to do their projects. And so, you know, Barwa can produce that groundwater benefit, with this project alone, which I think is easier to understand, and there's a higher level of certainty, you know, that those benefits will be produced by the end of the project. As you'll see on maps that I'll show that later, DWP and CSD do already have wells directly in this area, and so receiving the benefits is also more straightforward. We don't have to transfer water from one agency to another in order to produce those benefits. So that is more straightforward. The level of treatment is similar. We'll talk a little bit more about that. It still requires advanced treatment. It just doesn't require the extra processes for nutrient removal that would have been required for the lake. So that is a little simpler as well. So as I mentioned before, although it is a similar, smaller project, the 500 acre-feet of groundwater sustainability benefit is the same. So that's really what we're encouraging for phase one, and then the ability to layer other benefits over time. So a little more detail on what the green spot project is. As we talked about, it'll produce 500 acre-feet per year, and it will still require advanced treatment upgrades. We'll talk about that on the next slide. Based on the studies that were done back in the 2004-2005 timeframe, it was that 7 acres of that 20-acre site will be sufficient for the recharge. And so there may be additional space available. We're currently planning on operating, you know, that Barwa would operate that facility for about 9 months a year. It might be possible to operate during some winter, depending on, you know, what the conditions are. But the 500 acre-feet is based on 9 months. And as I mentioned, you can see here on the map, the green dots are existing municipal wells. And so both of the water agencies in the valley have wells in this area, so they don't have to install any new wells. They can access the water with their existing systems. And so the benefits to the customers are direct in that way. And there are also some private wells in this area, and so that's something that we're looking really closely at, and that the regulations require protection of. And so our initial groundwater modeling that's done by the project hydrogeologist is showing that those private wells will see some higher water levels, and they will not be negatively impacted by this project. So as the project goes on, we will, you know, continue to research and investigate that and make sure that that's the case. But based on all the current information, there would not be negative impacts to any wells in this area. So a little more information on the site itself. This site is actually the exact one that was studied back in 2005 timeframe. There were field investigations done, groundwater modeling, and even a pilot recharge project that actually put water in the ground to make sure that it would percolate. And so based on all of those studies, you know, it proved this is a viable site for recharge. And so when the shift towards green spot recharge was made, this site was on the market, and Barwa was able to acquire it to preserve the option to implement this project at some point in the future. There is, you know, an existing single family home that clearly wouldn't be part of the project. And as shown there, basically the bottom half of the site, we don't currently believe will be needed for recharge, but one of the next steps is to do preliminary design for the recharge ponds. And that will tell us exactly how much space is needed for current plans and potential future expansion. And at that point, if there's excess property available, then the board could consider, you know, options on how to use or potentially surplus whatever is not needed for the project. These images shown here, these are very preliminary renderings. As I said, we haven't done preliminary design yet, so we don't know exactly what all of the layout will look like. But this is just to show an example of what this project could look like in the community. It's really a very nature-based system. There will be some concrete structures that are low profile There will be some above ground piping, a little bit that's not shown here. But it will be screened from the neighborhood as well. And so, because it's a groundwater recharge project, public health and safety has to be the number one priority. But there are also a lot of things we can do to make sure that it fits into the aesthetic of the community. And so that's going to be important design considerations and part of what we'll be talking about when we do community outreach. So for the water quality comparison, I mentioned earlier, the previous plan to discharge to Stanfield Marsh and Big Bear Lake came along with some very stringent treatment requirements. And those are required to protect the sensitive ecosystem in Big Bear Lake, algae blooms, aquatic habitat. And so for this green spot recharge, that none of that is applicable. So we actually do, we're able to reduce some of the treatment requirements by not discharging to the lake. The groundwater recharge requirements are the same. The state regulations require a multiple step treatment process that includes multiple filtration processes and disinfection to destroy any remaining chemicals, basically, and those are all designed to protect public health. So that part is intact. So it's still a very robust treatment process. This slide shows basically a markup of what the treatment process was for the previous program. And it shows how we can, some of the processes can be reduced, but we still have membrane ultrafiltration, a high recovery reverse osmosis. So those are two membrane filtration systems. And then ultraviolet advanced oxidation. And then there's a couple of chemicals that we would not need to add on the end because of the change in discharge location. But there's still multiple treatment processes that are all designed and required to protect public health. So to answer the gentleman's question earlier, this treatment process, the VOD and the TSS, total suspended solids, will be less than 5 parts per million and really years throughout for the most part. So this is a purified water. It is a much higher level of treatment than our was current or requires to discharge those from valid. So in terms of recent progress and next steps, since the April meeting where this project was last discussed, Barla was able to purchase and close escrow on that 20-acre site in that units referred to as green spot. And that preserves their ability to implement this project in the future. As I mentioned, the hydrogeologist did some groundwater modeling to demonstrate that local private wells would not be negatively impacted. We have reached out to the grant funding agencies to start the process of applying existing grants to the new scope and understanding what will that take, would they approve that? And so we have feedback from them on what new information they would need to see. And so we'll be moving forward with those processes as next steps. We'll share updates with the board as they become available. And then we've also revised the scope for program management, which includes community outreach. Because we really added a new component of the project that is a neighborhood. That's an important part of the next steps. And then final design to further advance the green spot recharge projects. And so those amendments are agenda items that will be considered later. As a summary of the proposed community, we know that the community is going to have concerns and questions. This isn't part of the program that has been talked about before. And so this is a new part of the conversation. So we want to help people understand, the project, the cost, what does it look like, how's it going to impact their lives. And so the outreach efforts are included in the program management amendment that's later in this agenda. And so if the board wants to proceed with that, what we've done, or what we're going to focus on in the next 6 months is an initial effort, to get out there and contact the residents who are closest to the project and who will be most affected by it first. and help them understand, understand what information they need and the best way to get that to them. Based on the feedback that we're getting, we can make some refinements and recommendations for long-term outreach, maybe community workshops and next steps. But our initial effort is going to be to focus closely on the community that's nearest to the project. So next steps overall for the project, this meeting, you're considering amendments to the final sign of program management, which would move the project forward. If those are approved, we'll begin some additional community outreach in August. And that will include presentations to other agencies, posting public presentations on the website, and then doing that some door-to-door outreach out in the neighborhood. And also in August, there will be at the August meeting consideration of a phase 1 funding and financing plan based on the latest costs and understanding of the funding picture. Consideration of a resolution to initiate the surplus land act process. Not to necessarily make any decisions on that yet, but to initiate that process to keep your options open. We're also working with Tom Dodson Associates to understand what's going to be needed to update the environmental clearance document. And so if an amendment is needed to finish that out, that would come back to potentially in August as well. And we did hear from some funding agencies that they might want to see a longer term funding financing plan. So that's something that needed to be brought up as well to be relatively simplistic. And then in September, a discussion around reconsidering with the loan. They have expressed that they're still flexible in modifying the scope to include green spot, and so considering whether the board wants to move forward with having those discussions, then we begin to modify the scope of that. And then if the funding agencies require a phase 2 funding plan, there may be an agenda item associated with that as well. So it's kind of what to expect. Additional decisions that will come your way if you move forward. And then this is our final slide. I want to just give kind of a picture of the parallel paths that things are moving on. So the top line there is the replenishment gear green spot recharge project. So moving forward, we would progress the final design, and the little beeper icons there are indicating when the board is going to get more detailed information about each of these things. So as we go through design, it becomes more detailed and more defined about 30% design, 60, 90, and 100. And at each of those milestones, we get updated costs from vendors. We get the latest and greatest information based on market costs, and we can provide updated information at that time. In parallel, we're working on an outfall line investigation, which is intended to understand the current condition of that important facility and what investments might be needed, over the next, say, 10 years to maintain that facility. The collection system master plan will provide similar information for your trunk lines, force mains, and lift stations. And then the wastewater treatment plant facility master plan will provide similar information for all your facilities that are in the fence here on the site. And so all of that information is going to be developed in parallel, and we'll come back to you. For a Replenish figure, you'll get updates along the way. And for the master plans, the fall of 2027, all of those things are going to come back to you and be packaged into a potential comprehensive CIP. So that at the point where you're making decisions about what to invest in, you will have all of the information on all of our facilities to look at, along with considering investments in our leadership there. So right now, what's moving forward is design. The decision to construct has not yet been made, and we'll have much more information available to you before that comes back to you. So that's the final slide. We haven't taken any questions, feedback, or suggestions before we share this information out with residents.
Do we have any questions from the board?
Can you talk about the surplus land activity, whatever ends up not being essential here, could be sold off?
Yeah, potentially. So right now, we think that 7 acres would be enough for recharge, but if the preliminary design indicates that you might want to hold on to a little bit more, then we can advise on that and determine if there is any land that Barlow won't need for recharge, then the board could consider, you could keep it, you could surplus it, or some options. So that would come back to you, after we have additional information from the design team on how much they're recommending preserving for future recharge.
And then the drawing shows 4 ponds, I take it.
It does show 4 ponds, but that's really just representative. The preliminary design team will recommend, they may recommend something different. They may be a different shape, there may be more or less of them, but the idea is to have multiple ponds so that you're only using some of them at a time and you're letting others dry out and clean them so that you can maintain the recharge process. So there will be multiple ponds, or is basically a representative number.
Are these naked earth, or are they going to have some kind of vegetation to keep dust down?
Typically you want to maintain the percolation capacity. And so, the bottom of the pond, and the sides, you want to keep pretty bare. Some vegetation does grow and that's fine. But when you go periodically and do those cleanouts, that typically gets removed. Dust control considerations will be part of the design as well. So there are portions of, the site that are reserved for access. And so, those areas could have some sort of surface treatment to prevent dust there. But the ponds generally will have water in them or will be cleaned out, and dust can be managed during that cleanup operation. So that will be an important consideration, especially considering close neighbors. Dust control is something that the designers will be thinking about during operation.
And are we looking at depth sufficient to worry about children getting in and drowning? Growing mosquitoes, or is this going to be?
So the depth is something that the designers will be looking at for the purpose of getting enough recharge capacity. Site security is very important. So there will be probably multiple barriers to prevent the public from getting inside the site, because this is drinking water, it's going into a drinking water supply. So public access is not going to be possible. We will be considering what is appropriate in terms of multiple barriers to keep the public from accessing that. So, something like a child getting in there hopefully is not going to be possible.
And normally under a project, neighbors, say within 500 feet, all get the opportunity to protest. Would that be true in this case?
Yeah, so we plan to do some direct outreach in the neighborhood. We have postcards that we would send out to all of the, I'm trying to think if we have a specific boundary, but all of the properties that border the site, and any of the properties that are within like a 6-month travel time of this recharge water with direct outreach. Ultimately, the outreach will be much broader. It's actually required by law under the groundwater recharge, as well as the environmental review regulation.
Yeah, to add to that, the Title 22 engineering report that's required for indirect potable reuse projects has to go through a public comment period, review period before additional treatment water approves it. So that includes all the technical aspects, part of the preliminary design. Some of which will be discussion about what those recharge models look like, how it. So it's required by state law that the public will have a chance to review and provide comment on that.
And when you suggest that it would actually improve adjacent wells, then obviously you've got potential for commingling, and whatever we put in could be negatively viewed by neighbors not wanting us dabbling in their water.
Right, so, the regulations are also very stringent on not having any downstream wells that are within like a 6 to 12 month travel time of after the recharge water goes into the ground. It has to be in the ground for at least 6 months before it can be considered drinking water and pulled out. So the groundwater modeling that the hydrogeologist has done uses a particle tracking technology where they simulate where would those particles go. And so based on that, what we've seen is that under the recharge site, the water that gets recharged will basically kind of cause the natural groundwater to back up behind it. And so the well owners in the near vicinity, the seep increases in their groundwater level. It's actually native groundwater that's increasing in their wells. It's not the recharged water. The recharged water is not extracted until about 2 years downstream. And as we go forward in the analysis, we'll be updating the analysis and looking at this multiple times because the state requires really detailed assessments to make sure that there are no negative impacts, no commingling of the water in wells that are near the site. So that's something where we've already done a preliminary analysis and it's shown that it's going to meet all the regulations. And we'll be updating that as we go along to confirm that that is still the case.
The initial impact, environmental impact report talked about capacity of 1,000 acre feet. And yet we're only doing 500. Is this?
Yeah, the reason for that is because 1,000 acre feet was studied fairly extensively in 2005. And we believe that that recharge site could accept 1,000 acre feet most of the time. During wet winters, when there's a lot of native water, you might not be able to put that much in. So our thought in starting phase 1 with 500 acre feet was that that allows us to, reduce the burden costs a little bit. And 500 acre feet is a number that we have a very high level of confidence that that basin can accept. There is some flexibility, because like I mentioned, at 500 acre feet, it would happen over 9 months. You could potentially recharge over 12 months, and that would increase the number to about 666 acre feet. So there's some built-in flexibility within that 500 acre feet number to go up a little bit more if everything is working well. The percolation rates are good, the travel times are good. In the basic, once you have that sort of proof of concept, if everything is turning out as modeled, then you could do more in the future. Our recommendation was to start with 500 because it was a lower cost option that we believe has a very high probability of success without creating additional operational constraints. If you try pushing 1,000, it might be a little trickier. And so the 500 is a number that we feel we could reliably get every single year.
And so anything beyond the 500 acre feet is back to the exempt to Missouri?
Yes, under phase 1, that's correct.
And we're not putting anything in the winter because we don't think it can accept it, or for some other reason?
Yeah, I think it depends on the weather conditions, right? If it's relatively dry, it might accept it. I think we also would benefit from having some actual winter operational recharge, because the frost depth of that area can be between 3 and 4 feet. And so it may inhibit recharge, it may be more challenging to operate. So we're basing the operation on 9 months to be conservative. If actual conditions indicate that you can do more, then you might be able to do more. The treatment process is sized to go up to the 666. But just the winter conditions could limit your recharge during those months.
But is this all theoretical and paper? We wouldn't actually know what it can handle until we do it, which means we've had to build a plan.
Well, in 2005, Barbara actually did do a field recharge test on a property that's just adjacent to that site. So they put, it was drinking water at the time, but they did build a small basin, put drinking water in there, measure the rate at which it infiltrated, measure the groundwater levels, and use that information to calibrate the groundwater model. Is giving us the information that we have now. So it has been tested in the field. And part of the design process will be to do some additional infiltration testing to confirm early in the preliminary design.
And then when you talk about having to be in the ground 6 months, I mean, that's been for the last 50 years where the state was saying, yeah, you can do this, but it's got to lose its identity, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right.
Are they doing paper modeling, or are they actually putting isotopes or something so they can gauge how the water tracks?
Yeah, that's a great question. Did you know?
Yeah, so during design, DDW uses basically the particle method that Tom Harder's team has performed for evaluating that retention time as part of finalizing the permit, the process of DDW giving that final stamp of approval. They require a tracer test. So a tracer study would be done. They have, I think, 2 different levels of perform. It kind of relates to the amount of in the ground treatment credits you get and relates to that treatment site. So they will require a tracer study.
And that's where you do put, you know, a physical compound and measure its detection at the downstream wells. So that's where you get, you know, a level of certainty of what happens. So before you do the tracer study, they require an extra factor of safety. And so during design, we'll have to be planning for that extra factor of safety. And then once you do the physical tracer test at the end, then they will remove that factor of safety.
Okay, and you also mentioned that there will be no need for new agreements. But I had asked at the time we started discussing this, how do we assign who gets what water in that field? And there was talk about perhaps that being a water master agreement. But again, after the fact.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, my recommendation is that is, you know, who uses what water and managing groundwater levels is actually a purview of the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, which all of the same agencies are part of. So it's a different forum, but it's the same stakeholders. And the groundwater basin currently doesn't have any rules or legal requirements that says who gets how much. So it's a cooperative management. And so there's nothing that is requiring agreements. I think if the agencies wanted to have agreements, that's something that you absolutely could work towards. And my recommendation is that would be through the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. But it could be done, you know, through Marla if that's, you know, the direction of the board.
Yeah, there's no adjudicated groundwater rights at in Big Bear. We just the water conveyors right now just report on how much water they used. But there are no actual adjudicated water rights.
But we did have presentations talking about 2/3 of the water being used by the VWB and 1/3 for the CSB. And
Yeah.
so my question is then, how would that be measured? Who gets it first?
It doesn't, I mean, in this scenario, that wouldn't matter anymore. It would be whoever wants to pump. It's really just the fact that we're recharging the aquifer with 500 acre feet. The actual, how much CSD pulls out, how much DWP would pull out is really something that they could discuss and figure that out, but it doesn't, since there's no adjudicated rights, you're gonna just use what you need. They're gonna use what they need, and we're gonna recharge, Barway's gonna recharge the 500 acre feet on a yearly basis. Does that make sense?
But then quite literally first come, first served.
But right now, it's quite literally first come, first serve. It is today the same way, and your agency right now pumps out what it needs. DWP pumps out what it needs, and then if it sees I know DWP, if it sees a negative effect on certain areas, it stops pumping in that area. If you guys see a negative effect in a certain area, you stop pumping in that area. And so, I mean, you guys manage yourselves. And that would continue. I mean, the board is welcome to try and regulate that, but that would be the first of its kind to regulate the amount of water. And it would actually become some sort of adjudicated right then at that point. And I would suggest that at this point, right? If we said, oh, well, there's gonna be 500 acre feet and we're gonna divide it equally, we're gonna divide it 2/3, 1/3, all those things were gonna be, that would be a new process. It was different when we were considering Sand Canyon because of the way that was happening. So that no longer everybody's gonna be able to pump out of their own wells at their own speed, whatever the needs are.
Do we know how many wells are adjacent to all of this?
Yes, they were shown on that map. And so I think DWP has 6 wells, 6 wells, something like that. And you guys have 2 or 3 wells as well, but it's shown on that map. If you want to pull it back up, we can show you.
Yeah, the map doesn't show, which agency owns those wells. DWP does have more wells in that area than CSD, but they are currently using some of them. And their supply strategy, isn't focused in this area. So I think that we could bring back more information in the future if that's helpful about, which wells are in the area and, the ability to produce that water.
DWP currently pumps 75 acre feet out of that area. So it's much less than, and it provides it to the Sugarloaf area. So obviously that's, far less than say, if you wanted to say 250 or whatever the number you wanted to say. They don't use that much water in this area. So that might benefit CSD even more. Is there any other, just to make sure, Larry, we're clear on that, and do you have any concerns about that, Larry?
I think it's better to get it discussed beforehand instead of after the fact.
Sure, and we can do that, maybe the GSA might be the appropriate location for that. You guys wanna start, having those discussions about adjudicated water rights in the Bear Valley? That would probably be the agency best to discuss that.
Right, not this agency.
I wouldn't think so, but we wouldn't want to make those decisions for the water purveyors. Right? I wouldn't want to do that. That would be up to DWP and CSD to make those decisions in their own agencies. And have that discussion at the GSA to determine some kind of adjudicated water rights. It's not our purview.
Director Herrick, did you have something?
Lynn and Matt, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. I did have a question that kind of alerted me a little bit when you talked about having to clean out the ponds from time to time because is essentially one step different than drinking water that's going in there. So there really shouldn't be any BOD going in and any particulates going into it. I would imagine there'd be more of a concern if things falling into it out of the sky.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more that the water that goes in there is purified. There are, I mentioned earlier that total suspended solids are nearly 0. And so there's really nothing in the water that's settling. It's, dust that might flow in, the bottom of the basin, the existing swells at the bottom of the basin, the fines can kind of rise to the top. Those are the things that you're cleaning out to make sure that you've got access to that nice granular material where the water can soak in. It is very different from what, the ponds here on Barwis site, right? Where there are things that are in the water that settle and need to be cleaned out. It's not coming from the water itself. It's a good question.
So you wouldn't be planning on covering them?
Yes.
Would there be any benefit to covering
Well, there is a little bit of evaporation from having them open, but covering them would likely be very costly, and I don't think I've ever seen recharge basins in Southern California that are covered. Most agencies just plan for the, little bit of environmental deposits and routine cleaning. You have to clean them anyway, because of the way that the soil composition can change at the bottom. So that isn't something that we had planned to look at covering them.
Okay. As far as the public access is concerned, those are the thought that hit me. I totally understand the reason why. I've seen other reservoirs where they have to be really secure because the water could be exposed to the public and there could be problems. Something put into that water. With that said, will we get a presentation at some point with what that security is? You said layers of security, I would imagine cameras and so forth,
Yes.
but would prevent people from accessing that. And it's not because the water is dangerous.
Right.
It's almost drinking. You're not supposed to drink it, I understand, but
Yeah.
But because of that exposure.
Right, because it is going to soak directly into the drinking water supply. Don't want to create any opportunities for other, for contamination. So we absolutely will bring back more information on, the site security. I think we do a 30% design. That is going to be one of the first things that we're looking at. I mean, often these sites are, have high fences and barbed wire. We are going to get more creative than that because we do want it to blend in with the neighborhood, but we do have to make sure that it's highly secure. So we can bring that information down to at 30%.
I remember it was 9/11, after the 9/11 attack, that all these worries came into play from that. And so we still have these regulations in place for that.
Yes, yeah, the Division of Drinking Water, who regulates public health related to drinking water, is going to be also very interested in site security. Will be part of that Title 22 engineering report that Matt was talking about. We'll have to explain how we're going to secure the site and protect it.
Okay, thank you.
Director Sauer, do you have anything or?
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. I think we've kind of hit this point already, but so at the end of the day, there shouldn't be any stuff coming from these.
No, so this is purified water, so there are no, Matt, you can probably answer this question better.
No, I mean, we're talking about water that meets and exceeds drinking water standards across the whole constituent profile, so there's. Yes, no.
Just wanted to clarify that. And then you mentioned 666 acre feet is like the max that can handle.
Yeah.
What is the output of the plant, like max? Is it 666?
Yeah, if you were to run it for 12 months of operations, we have a 660,000 gallons go in. As you recall, it's kind of shown on that slide to a lower recovery system. So it's a 99.2%. We had to get a really small brine stream, we're only at 90%. So we've got 660,000 gallons per day, 600,000, it's at 90% yield of the part of the process. That's what gets produced. So over the 9-month period, that's your 508 feet. Got you extend that. You're breaking up that 530 gets you 666.
Gotcha. And then from a like marketing standpoint, are we open to like changing the name at all? Like from Replenish and to something else?
I don't see why not. I think if the board is interested in considering other names, we can absolutely have those discussions.
Great. Thank you.
Director Russo, do you have anything? No. Thank you. All right, well, David, do you have anything else or?
No, that actually covered everything, hit every one I looked at, so.
Okay. All right, then we will move on to item C. Bear Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency meeting on June 18th, 2026. David.
Yeah, so we did have that groundwater sustainability meeting, at that meeting, I presented this green spot concept. to the Groundwater Sustainability Board. And that was pretty much the entire meeting.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board on this item?
Yes,
Okay, Director.
how often do they update the website?
For the Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
I ask because after that meeting, I went in to see what it said, and it was still referencing getting water in the lake, and I thought, not anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, I'd have to ask Reggie how often they update that website. But the Groundwater Sustainability Agency isn't super active. It hasn't been because it hasn't really had much of a role. Because of what we do, we really just produce a report on the water use over the year in the valley. That's pretty much its really only purpose at this point, because it was created, right, because of the concerns about overdrafting of the aquifer. And then we found out originally we were rated high, and then we got rated to low. And so it was really kind of almost like a know nothing, but we had already started the process of creating the groundwater sustainability plan. And so I can find out from Reggie and make sure it gets updated, but I don't know how often it is updated, but I'll double check with him.
Because it doesn't fall under the purview of this agency.
It is not, and we are just a participant in the agency. So, yeah, it does not fall in this agency.
Okay, and any discussion on this? All right, moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion at the appropriate time. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If a detailed discussion is necessary, any governing board member may request that an item be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. Does any board member wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? No. Could I have the consent calendar motion to move the consent calendar?
I'll move the consent calendar.
I will second. Roll call, please.
Chair Segovia,
Aye.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Sauer,
I,
Vice Chair Walsh.
I,
Okay, we have no old business, so moving on to item 10, new business. Item A, amendment number 7 to the program management and engineering services agreement for the Replenish Repair project.
Yes, so what's up for consideration today is amendment number 7 to WSC's program management and engineering services for the Replenish Big Bear program. The reason for the amendment, the board directed staff to proceed with the green spot recharge project as a discharge location and requiring a scope to be updated. The amendment number 7 continues project management, funding and financing support, outreach, stakeholder coordination, environmental review, support, and regulatory coordination. The financial impact adds $1,103,604 to the new scope, and it applies $318,071 of the remaining contract balance, resulting in a net increase of $785,533. The costs are expected to be reimbursed through the future Title 16 grants and the WIPIA loan proceeds. Right now, we're going to be using project reserves to cover the cost until then. We recommend approval of the amendment number 7 and authorize the general manager to negotiate and execute the contract documents. With that, I am open for any questions.
Okay, before I move on to board questions, could I ask the audience it's a little distracting up here to hear talking. Back in the room, please. Okay, any board questions? No? All right. Any public comment?
Corey? 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 Come on in.
Can I ask you questions?
I'm lost. Is he gonna talk to him? Oh,
And you think about what the. If I do the math right. It looks like 500 acre-feet. Of treated water or injected water. Will be about 22% of the total. Treated water, if. You get 2 million a day. You're getting 7 acre-feet a day into the plant.
I don't do the math, but 2,200. Sure. Okay. Is there,
I
is
mean,
that,
it just, is your input, is your inflow. About 2 million a day, probably.
it is roughly
Okay.
about 2 million, yes, it's 22, yeah, 22, almost 23%.
So, according to my math. You're looking at about 22% of your total inflow is gonna be. Worked on as far as, third stage that goes to. The state lane project,
I
correct?
mean, yeah, and I mean, as far as the definition of a third stage. You know, there's advanced oxidation, but the treatment level process that we're talking about for the replenish, I mean, for the green spot project has several, you know, reverse osmosis.
So that's on an average day, not in the winter, just. Your typical normal day. You're looking at 22% of treated effluent going to. The project,
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now on the proposed. Expansion, and you're looking at, was it 2,200 acre-feet?
The original plan was 2,200 feet, yeah, 2,200 acre feet, that's correct.
Is that part of the new plan? 2,200?
The overall, Replenish Big Bear program is 2,200. This specific project is 500 acre feet.
Okay, so you're not looking at expanding.
Someday we may expand that. The board may consider to expand that to the full capacity of the plant that.
Okay, so at 2,200 acre-feet. That's gonna be roughly, 98%. Of your total. Inflow under the treatment plant.
Yeah, we did some math. I think it was 99%, 99 point something percent, but okay, sure.
So. That 2,200 acre-feet is gonna all go to green spot, there's not gonna be anything left for. Any of the other wells, correct?
No, so that area does not have the capacity. That area doesn't have the capacity for 2,200 acre feet. It has the capacity of 500, maybe up to 1,000, but the balance of it would have to go somewhere else.
At this time, what you're saying,
It would, that area doesn't have the capacity to take,
take 2,200.
take 2,200 acre feet.
So, okay, so if you expand to 2,200 acre-feet and spread it out amongst the other.
Locations.
Aquifers or wells or whatever. Then you're gonna be pretty much taking every bit of. Influence that the treatment plant is taken in, and do you have the capacity to treat that many gallons? At the third stage?
Yeah.
Or is this something
That we do have the capacity to treat that. That's what the Big Bear, the Replenish Big Bear program was about, was to treat that entire capacity. We do have that. But I'm happy to sit with you and we can discuss like all the different nuances.
okay, I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
You're treating that secondarily right now.
Yes.
Not sure what you're treating. At
Sir,
the third stage.
you've gone over your 3 minutes, so he's offering to speak with you.
I'm gonna speak with you separately.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Sure,
If that was true, how do
yes,
you have those figures in your mind? The other thing is my time up.
Yeah, your time is up.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Do we have any other cards?
Joyce.
So I'd like to know the actual cost of the plant itself, the piping or any ponds. And what's the volume that the plant can handle? Can it handle this new plant that you're wanting to purchase? Is it gonna be able to handle a full 2,000 foot feet?
So the cost is the cost estimate right now was 81.5 million. For the
The plant itself,
for the new plant that you were talking about.
okay.
And then if you, I don't know, the 2,200 acre feet is a separate program, right? That would be a separate cost.
That's the cost of the plant, so there's processing this clean water.
That is only for the 500 acre feet.
Oh, so
The 500 acre feet, the cost of that plant
So you're.
is 81.5.
That can only do part of what we're gonna need.
That we're only doing part of what we have. Not what we're gonna need, what we have.
And so you're using current piping that's already there?
No, where there is some current piping that CSD put in, back in 2004. 5, so, 4 or 5, they put it in,
Cost for the piping to be put.
3 million, so, was it?
I don't believe.
Yeah,
Piping's not that bad. I also have another idea, by the way, there's a spot at the top of Mound Street. Instead of using the Van Dusen side, we have piping that goes to Van Dusen, but at the top of Mound, there's like a big area up in there. And I've been thinking leach fields, and so I wanted to know what the difference is between the leach fields and these ponds. Because it's almost the same thing, the leach fields are a little bit more underground, which, you know, it seems to me like the evaporation was one of the reasons why they say you can't put it in Baldwin Lake because it's gonna evaporate. Now all of a sudden, they're not worried about evaporation, so that's a question I have. And also, I wanted to make a comment that the Trump administration has shown evidence that the climate change data was faulty. That a lot of these agencies have been creating all these regulations based on faulty data, so that's coming down the pipe just to be considered, that's all.
okay,
And I know you don't like hearing that stuff, but it's true, sorry. And. So she answered the question about the ponds, I had a question here.
Yeah.
But you know, one of the things I wanted to say is, rather than trying to pipe it over to marsh. You can actually do it at the top of Mound Street, and it would percolate down, and it would also go down Van Dusen to Baldwin Lake, because that's a convergence right there at the top. It goes to Whispering Forest, and you can make sure some of it goes down, because Baldwin Lake needs their stream back.
okay,
It's so dry. And if you can, that's actually where a lot of water is needed to help our Baldwin Lake citizens.
perfect, thank you.
And I'm actually for a lot of this project, except for the cost and creating a whole new agency. I think that it should be handled with, they should be employees.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other cards? All right.
So I actually have two, you can take your names. Question number one is, has this project been implemented in any other communities anywhere in the country? And if so, which communities?
Yes, would you? It's 300 or so.
There are many communities. We have a presentation we can point you to, I think that we did last year, that shows a lot. That shows all the locations in Southern California. Orange County Water District has been doing groundwater recharge since the 1950s.
So the Orange County Water District is cleaning the water and putting it in ponds.
That's right, yeah, they're using essentially the same process that we're, the same treatment process we're doing here.
Okay, and then secondly, I'm assuming these ponds are standing water.
Yes, they do percolate pretty quickly, so there's, the water soaking in and then additional water is being.
So what about vector control? What about mosquitoes and bugs and all that?
That is an absolute, that'll be a key consideration, during the design, so I don't have information to share with you about that now, but that is something that we can look back at 30%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment?
Yes.
I didn't really got it. Thank you. My concern is still.
And you brought up a good point. As any other cities doing this type of project with such a small confined aquifer. Because, you know, county, Orange County, you're bringing big aquifers, there's a lot of water to dilute this treated water with. And a small confined aquifer, that's not the case. So that's my concern, Steve. And we said, these drinking water standards, but I know there's carcinogenics that will still get through microfiltration, nanofiltration. And if it's 90 or 99% pure, what about 1%? It still gets through the process with a small confined aquifer. And of course, the cost of the project. Right now, our valleys will be facing fire protection issues. Maybe this isn't the time to put this on the shelf and solve that big, expensive fire protection issue first. And CSD does have water rights within their service area, groundwater rights. It's not adjudicated, it's actually passed down from Fairvale Mutual when land was first subdivided.
Yeah, adjudicated water rights are different than service rights.
But
They have service rights, not groundwater, there's no adjudicated water rights.
okay, CSD does have groundwater rights within all their service area.
They have service rights. It's different.
And also the service water rights
Yes.
for each body.
Yes.
Okay, so at this point, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve item A, amendment number 7.
I'll make a motion.
I will second it.
Director Harris,
Aye.
Vice Chair Walsh,
No,
Chair Segovia,
Aye.
Director Sauer,
Aye.
and Director Russo.
No.
Item passes.
Okay, moving on to 10B, amendment number 1 to the design services agreement for the Replenish Big Bear project.
Yeah, so a decision is needed to approve amendment number 1 to WSC's design services agreement for the Replenish Big Bear program. The board selected the Green Spot Recharge project as the discharge location, requiring design scope to be updated. What we're gonna be adding to the scope is obviously the Green Spot design work, the geotechnical testing and investigation, the Title 22 report. There's a public hearing process, and then design deliverables. Say that twice, fast. The net contract increase is $2,657,550. And again, we are expecting to use Title 16 to reimburse the Whitfield and the Whitfield loan proceeds. Right now, we're gonna use project reserves to move forward with this. So it is recommended that we approve the amendment and authorize the general manager to negotiate and execute the documents.
Thank you, David. Any questions on this item from the board? Yes.
for WSC. There was at one point your recommendation where we stopped rather than keep pouring money into the budget. You recall, is that this topic?
That was relative to the prior program scope to discharge to the lake and recharge the Sand Canyon. There did not appear to be sufficient support to move forward with that scope. And so we shifted discussions towards this green spot scope as principal. So that recommendation was relative to the prior scope.
Okay. So at this time. Is it fair to ask, since you are the one benefiting? Would you recommend that we go forward on this aspect?
Short question. I believe that green spot recharge is a very viable project as a phase one to replenish Big Bear. From what I have heard, there appears to be more support for this scope. Ultimately, it is the board's decision, and so our goal is to bring you the information that you need to make that decision. And that does include information on the necessary investments for all of the other facilities that Bar is responsible for maintaining. And so we're moving in that direction. And I don't think you're being asked to decide now if you're going to construct it. Just to move in parallel while additional information is developed and brought back to you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, public comment? Do we have any cards?
Corey, did you still want to speak on this item?
Or anything else?
Yeah, you have 10B on your card.
I filled one out, I need to fill it out.
No, did you have a comment?
So if I get this straight, you said you have the capacity to treat 100% of your influent, the plants,
I mean, 99%, yes,
third stage.
to a third stage, yes.
Right now, you're doing it secondary, and now you say you can do it to the third stage right now?
That's, well, we can construct a project that does it to the third stage, yes.
So. If this is already done, it's been paid for, and you have all the equipment,
No. I'm saying we have the capacity at the plant, we have the design ability to treat this
Okay.
water to the third stage for the full amount that, basically the full amount that's coming into the agency on an annual basis.
okay, so. So theoretically, we could leave all the water up here,
Yes,
not send it down to the Lucille.
theoretically, there would be small portions that we would have to ship down there. I think the number is 341 acre feet.
Right now, it looks like all the water going to Lucerne is just going in the ground.
That's correct, it is.
I don't see anything growing down there. Yeah.
There is a guy down there still, and I don't remember. I mean, John might know, but he was scheduled to grow down there.
Now, just a couple other questions real quick. The outfall line from Barwa, the outfall line from Barwa to Green Spot, that's not in place, is it?
There is a certain portion that we may be able to reuse that was put in by CSD. And we just need to confirm its integrity, but it was put in I think 2004.
So there's a cost for that. Is that part of the 81
It is,
million?
yes.
And are all the easements and everything ready to go on that?
The idea is to go into public right of way, so we don't need specific easements.
There is existing line.
Right, or existing right of way. There may be a portion that needs to be, we may need to get some easements, but I think most of it is public right of way. Right?
Well, just one thing I'll talk us through. Is your final disinfection gonna be the ultraviolet, or is that gonna be chlorine or O3 or anything?
Yeah, the disinfection process, may refer to as ultraviolet disinfection by advanced oxidation. So it's an extra step on top of disinfection to destroy all of its chain carcinogenic chemicals.
So no chlorine.
Chlorine would only be for disinfection and distribution type, similar to local water system.
Okay, Judy.
Thank you for letting me speak. That was some funding. I don't understand this new plan that came about. But I know, I realize it's a lot smaller. And I appreciate that that's all this needs, and it really, there's so much going on in our valley right now with fire department, you know, we're all gonna be taxed a lot more, all of the fees are going up. Our gas, everything in California, it's really putting the pressure on, and I don't see that this, even in this scaled down measure, is still, that cost is gonna be so much for this plan. Couldn't, why are we doing it right now, and there's so many other things that are front and center, please, please. Please, don't, you know, let's put the brakes on this. That's all I wanna say, because you're still going to be, if it only has a certain amount of storage, there's still a lot of water that's gonna be sent down, right? So you're really, what are you gaining? You know, what is, and you said everything is in the future. You have the capacity for this, you have the capacity for that. That's something in the future, more cost, more cost, more cost. Please, please, let's put the brakes on things. That's all I'm gonna say.
On up.
Mike Sadera, 60-year resident of the Valley. Just learned about the new phase of this just tonight. And up here, this conversation about Replenish Big Bear within my industry and the many people that I know in the Valley is still being discussed. And I'd like to just say that in my conversations, I want to congratulate the board, the staff, for you guys really making an effort at this and trying to find a resolve to doing this. I commend you. I appreciate it. I want you to know that there's a lot of people that are not in this room that really appreciate your guys' efforts. And I would encourage you guys to really think about this as for being forward thinking for our valley. Extremely. Okay. You know, I understand there's concerns about cost, but we stay the way we are, we're gonna be stagnant and we're gonna have a problem. As David has spoken in the past, we're gonna have a problem with that line going down the back. Okay, I don't know how many years is it, David, that until we're gonna be looking at how many millions, so I heard the number of 40 million back a couple of months ago, right?
It is, yeah, it is a large 17 miles of pipeline.
Yeah. And
we're gonna
that
have
to
to look at-
replace 17 miles of pipeline is probably, I'm gonna guess just being in the industry, 30 to 40 million.
You're probably on the cheap side of that, but yes.
Yeah, I am. So, you know, I really would encourage you guys to really think about what's gonna happen in the years to come. Okay, yeah, it costs to live, it costs, but this is our infrastructure we're talking about and the viability of this valley. So I really am imploring you to think this through and make the right decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving forward, I'm looking for a motion to move this item in a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call please.
Director Sauer,
Aye.
Mayor Segovia,
Aye.
Director Russo,
No.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Welch.
No.
Item passes.
Okay, moving on to item C, multi-year contract award for sludge hauling services for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, so what the board has in front of them tonight is approval of a multi-year contract to award sludge hauling services for the wastewater treatment plant. Centerville was ranked on first with a score of 297 points, narrowly beating Econo Organics with a 295 score. Staff is recommending negotiating with Centerville West. If we are unsuccessful, we would then move to negotiating with Econo Organics. The initial 3-year term is what we're bringing to the board. And there'll be and there'll be in the contract for 2 additional 1-year extensions. The cost, the total cost may vary based on the sludge, annual escalation and fuel surcharges. There is no fiscal impact. It is identified in the 2027 budget funds already are included in this. That concludes my presentation. I'm there for any questions.
Any board questions on our sludge removal?
Yes, please. The numbers. We'll get it on the cover sheet. 297 versus 21541.
Yes,
That's not a cost, that's points in your system, right?
yeah, that's our point evaluation.
At. Do we have a cost yet, or that's to be negotiated?
It is still to be negotiated, but submittal basis based on the proposal, we are putting the cost at $78 a ton at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comment?
So I want to know what the difference in the cost is between the old plant and the new plant when it comes to sludge. Because sludge is from the old plant, right? So this removal that it's gonna cost us. So if you have the new plant, are we still gonna have that sludge? Or am I mixing something up? It's a sludge from the new plant. We're still getting sludge. On the new plant.
The existing, this is the existing treatment facility. This is the sludge removal of the existing facility, and all we're doing is getting a new contractor.
Right.
For our existing process that we use right now. To remove the sludge.
So are we still gonna have sludge with the new plant, or that all gone?
That the sludge amounts won't change.
So are we gonna be saving for the cost of running the plant with the sludge and the maintenance and the plants? It sounds like they may be saving a little bit of money, like that's why I was asking.
No, it has not, where there won't be any savings with the new. With the new plant process.
Even though we're not having all that brine and sludge and stuff that has to be removed, it's not good cost, we won't have it on less, right?
So we're actually comparing, you're talking about 2 different things. I understand. Okay, yeah, it doesn't offset the cost, the process, the green spot process. Has nothing to do with the sludge. The sludge is something separate. There is a brine that has, right, the plant.
About the plants, not
Okay,
the-
so the existing plant. Has some sludge now. We'll continue to have sludge after we build the replenish. Or the green spot project. We will still continue to have sludge. And there'll still be continuing to have a cost to dispose of that sludge.
Is it because it's only gonna do 500 and not the whole 2,000, so you only have to remove it from 15, but you'll always still
It
have.
really doesn't have anything to do with it.
Have.
We'll still always have.
That answers my
Yeah,
question. It's-
no problem.
I see
Understood.
that also. You should,
Do we have any cards?
No.
Okay, all right, I would like to make a motion to move this item. Can I get a second, please?
So okay.
Roll call.
Chair Segovia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Walsh,
Aye.
Director Herrick,
Aye.
Director Sauer.
Aye.
And Director Russo.
Aye.
Right, item D, appropriate $154,000 for the Oxidation Ditch 2 Rotor 6 shaft replacement project from the contingency fund.
Yes. So, yeah, the request is to appropriate $154,000 from the agency's contingency fund. For Oxidation 2 Rotor 6 shaft. Project replacement. The reason is that the rotor shaft failed on July 12th, 2026. During normal operations, the rotor is essential to the wastewater treatment. Oxidation 2 is still treating properly at this time. And we're meeting our permit limits. We'd like to purchase the parts and material. And use the informal bid process to proceed with the installation of the new shaft. The cost breakdown is $90,000 for the shaft material, $50,000 for the installation, and a $14,000 contingency. Adequate contingency fund balance is available and staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Any member of the board have a question?
Is the shaft from day one, is it 1974 vintage?
Yes.
Yeah. It's vintage.
Well, then we ought to, put it on a podium someplace.
That's right. Put
Probably
it
an
up.
All right, any public comment? No, all right, could I please have a motion to move this item? I'll second. Roll call, please.
Director Russo,
Aye.
Director Sauer,
Aye.
Vice Chair Walsh,
Aye.
Chair Segovia,
Aye.
and Director Herrick.
All right, item number E, resolution number R 09-2026. A resolution of the Big Bear Area Regional Wastewater Agency congratulating the Big Bear City Community Services District on 60 years of service to the community.
So, I need to ask a question. I think we have 3 members that probably deserve equal recognition. The city just had 45 years as well. And the county, I don't even know how old the county is. I'd like to see us continue this and have a resolution for each one of the agencies as opposed to separating one out. I think it's, since we're joint powers, I think it's a fair thing to do.
Sounds good to me.
Do you need a second on that?
No, this is something we can.
All right.
Discuss.
So we'll continue the item.
Yes, okay, so the board is being asked to adopt resolution number R 09-26, congratulating the Big Bear City Community Services District on 60 years of service. Big Bear Community Service District has provided essential services and infrastructure supporting the Bear Valley's health, safety, welfare, and quality of life. Big Bear CSD is a key member in Bar West JPA and has been an important partner in meeting the regional wastewater needs. With that, the recommendation is to adopt resolution R 09-2026.
All right, but
Yeah, I think we're gonna continue it to the
continue.
next meeting, so we
Okay.
can do all 3 at the same time.
Okay.
Right, so moving on to item 11, general manager comments.
I have none.
Governing board member comments? No? All right, then I adjourn this meeting at 6:37.